Cussing is cursing. I've heard this thing, people will come out and they'll say, well, the Bible doesn't actually condemn profanity. It condemns cursing, like putting curses on people and whatever else. That's what it's saying. You know, James chapter 3 verse 10 says about, out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. In other words, you're not supposed to curse people. You should be a blessing to people as a Christian. Okay. Well, let's just go with that. The Bible never condemns profanity. Okay, let's go with that thinking here for a minute. Let me ask you a question. What is profanity? Profanity is cursing. It's a curse. You know, somebody pulls out in front of you and you say, hey, why don't you go to hell? Is that a curse? Yeah. You know, FAFO. You know, bleep around and find out. Is that a curse? Is that a blessing? It's a curse. Hey, you're a real son of a B. I think that's a curse. You're attacking their birth. Your mother is a female dog, essentially. As I'm going through my little trees here, my forest. You're a real piece of S. You're a, you know, I don't want to put this language into people's minds because I'm a Christian and I don't use profanity. But this bizarre making excuses for sin kind of a deal here. Oh, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with a Christian using profanity. You know, these people that are coming out with this stuff, they're coming out with these things as a way to just try to change what Christianity has always stood for. You know, I mean, if you're really young and raised in this very wicked modern world, I can kind of understand it a little bit because you're very naive and very ignorant. But people that are older, that were born in the 20th century, like me, I remember the Saturday morning movies that they'd have on television and they would bleep out all the profanity. You know, oh, the older generation, they were tough, man. They weren't afraid of profanity. Who are you kidding? I used to go to a church many years ago, one of the churches I used to attend, and there was an older man there, and he was he was one of the soldiers with the D-Day invasion in World War II. Gentle, old, mild-mannered man. D-Day invasion, World War II veteran. Never heard him use profanity the entire time I knew him. My grandfather, Milton Denlinger, born in 1910, and he had this quiet power about him, and just, you know, there were certain things, if you did wrong as a child, you know, you were acting a little bit stupid or whatever else, he would just kind of give you the look, and it was, whoa, uh-oh, okay. You know, he had that power about him that older people had. My other grandfather as well, Bernard Fry, he was the same way. He was a little bit more jovial, a little bit more goofy and things, but he had that power. He could give you the look, you know, as well, and you know, oh, okay, I'm sorry, you know. Never use profanity. Strong men don't need profanity. Weak men use profanity. Profanity is the lowest form of the English language. And when you use profanity, you are using curses. You are literally putting curses on people. So if you, oh, well, you know, cursing is meaning, you know, another thing, it's not cussing. Cussing is cursing. But see, there's a very satanic movement out there. Satan's ministers appearing as the ministers of righteousness. And what are they doing? They're trying to rewrite Christianity. They're trying to change Christianity from what it always historically was. I'm not going to allow that. Not on my watch. I don't think so. A real good, strong culture is a culture where men and women control their speech. Oh, I'm going to live a very high life, a very high aristocratic type of a thing. Well, then you ought to know that using profane speech does not help you. It actually brings you down. It shows your lack of character. You know, I remember hearing a story the one time about a little boy that I think it was during the French Revolution or something, and they had this little boy. He was a prince, and they killed his parents, the royal family, and and whatever else, and they gave him to this woman to raise. This woman that ran a brothel, and she was trying to get him to do all kinds of evil stuff, and she tried to get him to use profanity, and he would stomp his foot and he'd say, "I will not do it. I will not do it. I was born to be a king." Kings don't use profanity. Kings don't need to curse people. So, something to think about. I mean, if I want to be a real man, I guess, should I start using profane speech in my preaching? Then that shows my strength. Strength comes from intellect, showing that you have a higher IQ. Strength does not come from lowering your IQ and lowering your speech. If you have profanity in your language, you need to get it out of there. Okay? It's not a mark of strength, it's a mark of weakness. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching.